Lads, focusing now on a big game coming up in the Premier League, mainly for one reason. Burnley hosting Manchester United at Turf Moor this weekend. And Nick Mendola, this game just became absolutely huge for Manchester United and Eric Ten Hag, given the recent defeats, off the pitch stuff, the way they're playing, how vulnerable they've looked, how mistake ridden they've looked. And yeah, what are your thoughts about United go into Burnley? Obviously, they don't want to make it 4 defeats in a row. Um, there are some injury problems that have really hampered them so far. But I'm just intrigued to see how they react because there's been stages against Brighton and Bayern in these most recent defeats where they have looked good going forward, haven't taken their chances, then they've been punished for silly errors at the other end. I mean, look at Onana coming out, holding his hand up and saying that was my fault for the Bayern defeat, a big mistake for the first goal in that game. It just kind of seems that everything that could go wrong for Eric Ten Hag and United is going wrong right now. I don't know if Burnley away is the kind of game you want when you're in the middle of this run.
Maybe not away, but I think Burnley's shown us that they're going to give opportunities to score. And I think, if anything, that's what you want if you're Manchester United. You want to feel better about the attack. You also probably are thinking to yourself a little bit, hey, we had a guy for like 10 years who most of the time was pretty good in goal. But that's another story. Still a free agent out there, David De Gea. I don't know. I can't help but think that this team, while certainly going through troubles right now, still has so much class inside of it. And I just don't want to ignore what we saw for a full season last year. Over the course of a full year, Eric Ten Hag gave us as much promise as you've seen under any manager since Sir Alex Ferguson, with the exception maybe of Jose Mourinho's big success. But even looking at that year, it wasn't really performances. It wasn't feeling great about the future. It was, oh, they might get something this year. Last year felt like the start of something. And Eric Ten Hag needs some results right now and some performances to remind us how we felt at the end of last year, before the transfer tumult, before they didn't get the guys they wanted, because they had that boss. And the scary part right now is we are, because of the way soccer works, maybe a week, 2 weeks away from us turning Eric Ten Hag into the last four managers we've seen there.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, right, Andy? I mean, you look at United's schedule coming up. It's not exactly. It's okay, right? Crystal Palace, Brentford, Sheffield United, and then they've got a big Manchester derby at the end of October. I mean, they want to basically be in and around the top four when they get to that derby against City at the end of October, 6 weeks or so from now, and be like, okay, we've recovered, we've beaten the teams we have to beat, and that's it right now, and calm things down. But it's easier said than done, isn't it? And you're pulling a lot of faces there, so I feel like you don't agree with anything that Nick and I have just said about Man United.
No, I don't. We've been doing this for years now, and I've been guilty of it as well, and I have now decided to stop doing this. I'm done making excuses for Manchester United. I'm done looking for ways that, or trying to find positives that are maybe kind of there, but that are the bare minimum expectation, I think, especially of a club like Manchester United. Like, if we're talking about, well, last season, they looked good for a full season. Okay, they're Manchester United. They're supposed to, and they're supposed to be building on that now at this point, and they are clearly not, because of what they have done the last couple times out in the Premier League, the way that they played against Brighton, to be beaten 3-1 at Old Trafford, and 3-1 was probably kind on them. So I didn't get to watch that game, and I'll give you kind of, here's where my brain is coming from. I didn't get to watch that game live. I watched the extended highlights, and after Manchester United scored to make it 3-1, I thought, okay, they're probably going to make this, a little bit ropey at the end for Brighton, and they're going to create some chances, and they're going to make this interesting. There were 4 more highlights that came after Manchester United's goal. All 4 were for Brighton. It wasn't United ramping up the pressure and making it a game again. There wasn't. It doesn't appear to me that the players have belief in what's going on there now, and there are a lot of different reasons and factors that are at play at the moment right now for that, and so I'm not going to believe in them. And it's just, we've given them the benefit of the doubt because of who they are, the name of the club, the money, and the names that they sign. They have a lot of great players. Yes, they do. it hasn't mattered for the last 10 years, and I don't understand why it's supposed to matter now when everything else is still the same.
I watched the game live, and I thought the 3-1 scoreline flattered Brighton a little bit. United had a lot of good chances. Brighton were clinical, did a great job. I think out wide in particular, they made the most, especially late on, of United's forwards just being asked to go forward and not giving the fullbacks any cover. And Brighton are a very clever team. We know the way they work it from back to front, triangles all up the pitch, etc., etc. Very well drilled. And I still feel like, you mentioned it earlier, it's random from week to week with Manchester United. Sometimes we'll see glimpses of the team we saw last season. Others, it will be totally different. I still don't think they're in the rhythm, the pattern, be it because of injuries, be it because of all the other stuff that's going off the pitch. Then there's a lot for Erik ten Hag to focus on right now. And it just kind of happens when you're in bad form like this. Players are overthinking it, individual errors creep in, all the rest of it. And it's impossible at a club the size of Manchester United, like you mentioned, Andy, to have anything but high expectations of them week in, week out. So it's difficult. It's difficult for these players, I think, to kind of have a level head and just kind of keep being consistent when every game feels like we have to dig out a big win here. Otherwise, the crisis that's already unraveling is going to unravel further. Nick, Burnley, you said, against Forest, they were a bit better last time out. Got their first point of the season back in the Premier League. Out wide, I mentioned it there, that Brighton got a United. It feels like Burnley have some players there where they can get at Dalot and Reguilon. Those are the two fullbacks. Pretty much if two fullbacks United have left after all the injuries. That's an area of concern, I think, for United, and somewhere Burnley can get a bit of joy, especially early on if they press high.
Yeah, they have to hope to be advantageous. They have not been good in open play. They have done some things off of dead balls to look a little bit more dangerous, but they're not going to get a lot of chances. So they have to punish United when they get it. What they have going for them, again, and not to drag this conversation back to United, is if Liverpool didn't have Virgil van Dijk or Arsenal when they didn't have Saliba, we worried about their chances. For some reason, we continue to not, really harp on the fact that this is a team missing one of the best defenders in the world. And I think when Varane is there with Lisandro Martinez or with Lindelof, your left and your right backs have more license to go forward. If he's not there, your left and your right backs, especially with guys like Dalot and Reguilon. Reguilon is fun going forward. Everything else is an adventure. Andy would have seen this up close. And so that's the scary part against Burnley, is that, you might want to play for a 4-2 as opposed to a 2-0.
Yeah, and I think the midfield balance has been a bit off this season as well. They're still trying to figure it out. So if Amrabat comes back soon, then that'll be a huge boost for them. So a work in progress, slow start for Man United, and let's see if Burnley can take control and just make the most of them being in a pretty bad place. I'm going for a 2-1 win to Manchester United for my score prediction. Andy, what are you going with?
I've got the same.
All right, Nick?
I've got 3-1.
3-1 to United.
Yeah.
Just to confirm. All right.
Burnley gives up too many chances.
Yeah, that's true. Great to see them playing in an attacking manner, but I don't know how well it's going to work out for them this season and staying in the Premier League. So head over to Pro Soccer Talk at NBCSports.com for all the latest news, how to watch information, live analysis and reaction on Burnley against Man United. A big game at Turf Moor, especially for Manchester United. Let's see if Erik ten Hag's men can get back on track.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.